What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going through part 3 of my vinyl collection. We're going to be covering basically the remainder of my hip hop collection. If you haven't seen episode number 1, that's where I go through a lot of my main stuff that I listen to. And in today's episode, we're basically going to be covering sort of what rounds out my hip hop musical taste. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support you've given me on this channel. It has been a blast so far and I have so much in store, so much that I want to do. And yeah, I'm just super excited. So we're just gonna get straight into it today. My vinyl collection, episode number 3. Let's fucking go. Okay, so I wanted to start this video off with the very first record that I bought as an adult with my own money. This is Run the Jewels. This is an original pressing of their first album. I think I got this off their website in 2013 when it came out. Super happy to have this in my collection. Next we have one of my favorite albums of all time. This is LP Cancer for Cure. This is such an underappreciated album. I feel like people that have heard this album absolutely love it, but for some reason it just slipped under the radar somewhere, and I don't know why, because it is incredible. I've listened to this hundreds of times. It's one of my favorite albums in my collection. Following up LP, this is Killer Mike, rap music. It's a VMP exclusive, so if you have any records from them, you know that they do a very good job of their presentation, and they did an incredible job on this. So yeah, I'm super happy to have this. You guys are about to see how random my hip hop taste can be, because we're gonna be skipping around quite a bit in this video. This is Exhibit, Man vs. Machine. I've realized in my life I'm like a pretty big Exhibit fan, at least as far as his old stuff goes. I need to definitely get a couple more of his albums in my collection. Nothing like that old Dr. Dre inspired West Coast hip hop. This is the type of stuff I grew up on. Here we have one of my favorite albums in my collection. I feel like I'm saying that for like every album that I show, but this one I really mean it. This is Mos Def, Black on Both Sides. It sounds incredible on vinyl. It sounds incredible anywhere because it is just an incredible album. Next we have Mad Billin, Mad Billiny. I feel like I have to go through this project a little bit more to really appreciate what it has to offer, because I know it is iconic. I know it's legendary. The wordplay, the rhyme schemes, everything on here is very well done. And yeah, I just need to spend more time with it. Definitely gonna go back and listen to it. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll listen to it today. Next we have Gravediggers, 6 Feet Deep. This is another VMP exclusive. The cover art to this is so epic. I love it. I don't know if the video is gonna do justice to it, but it is so nice. I love the way VMP does their stuff. They take such care in their pressings, and this is definitely one of the best ones they've done. This one I don't know if you really consider hip hop technically, but it is Fatboy Slim, You've Come a Long Way. I feel like Right Here, Right Now, and Praise You are like two of the very first early songs that I ever remember hearing for some reason. Got this a few months ago. I was never really like seeking to get it, but I found it in a record store. I got it. I love it. I listened to it that night. Super nostalgic, super happy to have this. One of my favorite artists here, A$AP Rock. This is Labor Days. I can never get enough of his music. I love it. He puts on a great show as well. My wife and I went to go see him a handful of years ago, and it was just a blast. I can't wait till he goes back on tour, if he ever does, I guess. But yeah, this album is incredible. Next we have A$AP Rock, Skeleton. This is just an example of how consistent he is as an artist. Out of all of his albums, I feel like I've listened to this one the least, even though some of my favorite songs from him are on this album. So this is another one I'm gonna have to go back and revisit for sure. Next we have A$AP Rock, The Impossible Kid. This is my favorite A$AP Rock project. Every single song on this thing is an absolute banger masterpiece. I love it. One of my favorite hip hop albums ever. And to finish off my A$AP Rock collection, here we have Integrated Tech Solutions. This just came out, I believe, in late 2023. This is a really consistent record here. I went like a week straight of listening to this album without listening to anything else. It is already burned into my brain. I love it. All right, we're gonna fire through some old school stuff that I have for you guys. We got Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, A Tribe Called Quest, People's Instinctive Travels, and the Paths of Rhythm. I think this is the second album I ever bought with my own money. Another super special one that is near and dear to my heart. This here should have been included in my first video. I don't know why, for some reason it wasn't put next to all my Dr. Dre stuff, but this is NWA, straight out of Compton. It needs no explanation, no introduction. This is the epitome of West Coast hip hop. This is really what started it all. And with Dr. Dre being pretty much one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite producers, this is a no-brainer to have for me. Going back to the East Coast, we have Nas, Illmatic. Just like the NWA record, this is something that needs no explanation to it. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it for good reason. It'll pretty much always live in the top 10 of everyone's hip-hop lists as far as albums go. Another timeless record. Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, super hungry, super gritty. Method Man is one of my favorite rappers. This is a record that everyone should have if you collect vinyl and if you're a fan of hip-hop. Legendary. Next we have Method Man and Redman, Blackout. This is an original pressing of this. I don't even know if it's ever been repressed, but I just had to have this. This is an awesome record, super underrated. I can't wait to listen to this again. Every time I do these videos, I always just want to go back and listen to every record that I have. Yeah, that's why I have so much fun doing these videos. If you could get your hands on this, if you ever see it, grab it. If you don't get it on vinyl, at least go stream it. It is amazing. Next, we got Method Man to Cal, the prequel. This album is disgustingly underrated. I don't know how it got sort of lost in the shuffle of all his albums, all the Wu-Tang albums. Probably because it doesn't have that same old school East Coast gritty sound to it. But this thing front to back has amazing tracks. If you are a fan of Method Man and have never heard this, go listen to it right now. Next, we got Old Dirty Bastard, Return to the 36 Chambers. Is this not the coolest album artwork you've ever seen? I could listen to this any day of the week and then some. Incredible album. All right, we're gonna dip our toes into some early mid-2000s stuff. We have Juvenile, Reality Check. Another underrated album. I remember being obsessed with this. I might have been maybe 14 or 15 when this came out. I don't know why I loved it so much. I still do. It's good. It's throwback. It's as 2000s as it gets. Here's an early 2000s classic. We have Nelly, Country Grammar. I remember me and my best friend listening to this all the time. We must have been like 9 or 10 years old. Gotta love some old school Nelly. Lil Wayne, The Carter 3. This is probably gonna be the only Lil Wayne album that I ever own. I think The Carter 2 is also really good, but I think those records are pretty hard to get. So for now, I'm happy to have this in my collection. Really good album. It's how I was introduced to his music. Also, super iconic cover. Next, we got Ludacris, Word of Mouth, one of my favorite rappers growing up. Like a lot of my other favorite artists, I'm slacking so much on getting his other projects, but I'm definitely happy to have this. One of my all-time favorites, God Loves Ugly, Atmosphere. I went through some time listening to this when I was in my early 20s. It will forever hold a special place in my heart for sure. Atmosphere, Sad Clown, Bad Fall. This EP has The Rooster on it, which is probably my favorite Atmosphere song ever. It really showcases how much of a good songwriter Slug is. Logic, Under Pressure. If you're a Logic fan, you'll love this. If you're not, you'll hate it. Growing up, he was one of my favorites as well. I sort of fell out of the loop of listening to him, but this is a cool nostalgic album for me to have. Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, this is Pinata. Super critically acclaimed album for good reason. And again, just look at the artwork. So good. No one needs explanation on this. This is Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly, masterpiece. Another really good album here, Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers. Here we got Jack Boys. I'm a big Travis Scott fan, so this is why I got this. Cool project. Speaking of Travis Scott, here we got Rodeo. Travis Scott, Birds in the Trap, Sing McKnight. This is overhated. I don't know why. It's really good. Next we have, you guessed it, Astro World by Travis Scott, one of the biggest albums of our generation. I have a few different variants of this, but this is Travis Scott, Utopia, his newest album. Really good stuff. Next we have Metro Boomin, Not All Heroes Wear Capes. Space Cadet is one of the coolest songs I've heard in a very long time. Next we have Childish Gambino, Because the Internet. This is basically a movie. Really showcases how good of a songwriter he is. He is just so talented. Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon. A$AP Rocky, Long Live A$AP, really good debut album. I've always loved him as an artist. Here we're getting into some of my favorite records that I own. This is actually a bootleg. I do not collect bootlegs. I sort of bought this on accident, but this is the High Life, Mac Miller. I heard this for the first time in college and oh man, it brings me back every time. Here we have how I was introduced to Mac Miller. This is Kids. This album will forever define a chapter in my life for sure. It is such a shame that he passed away as early as he did. Mac Miller, Good AM. Mac Miller, Best Day Ever. Such a good project. Mac Miller, Watching Movies with the Sound Off. This is where I really think he started developing as a really in-depth artist. This right here is definitely a career-defining project for him. Here we got Circles by Mac Miller. This came out after he passed away. From what I understand, it was supposed to be like a second part of Swimming. I definitely think that he would have just continued to come out with really, really good music as the years went on. And like I said, just a shame that he passed away as early as he did. Speaking of Swimming, Swimming, I saved this for last because it's kind of like a special edition. I guess you would call it a box set. This is what I would consider his most complete body of work. It has every element that you would want in a Mac Miller album, in my opinion. And yeah, they just did a really good job on the presentation of this album for sure. And to finish things off, I don't own a ton of like box set special edition stuff, but here is Eminem, the Eminem Show Expanded Edition. It's got a ton of cool photos on the inside. I believe this is on 4 LPs. I wanted to save this for last just because, like a lot of the other albums I've shown in these, they just define an era in my life. Brings me back to my childhood. And like I always conclude these videos, I am so grateful to own all of these records. If you are still here, make sure to comment down below what your favorite album was. Do I have anything that you want? Is there stuff I don't have that you recommend I get? Let me know down below. And in the next episode, we are going through the final part of my vinyl collection. You guys are really about to see how random my musical taste can be. So in the meantime, I hope you guys all take care. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!